It's been a while. Let's get into the latest update. Hey everyone, good to be back. Has been quite a while. Actually, as a matter of fact, I just checked. It's been like June 2018, so roughly about 4 months since the last update, which was supposed to be a monthly update, but well, life just kind of got into the way. Also, I found out why it's called the dog days of summer because I worked like a freaking dog. Unfortunately, not on Sky GODZ. I had to finish some other project stuff that was just like laying around for quite a while, actually. As a matter of fact, to be honest, this whole year is like the end of like a 9-year epicycle for me. So therefore, it's like a cleanup year. Projects, everything that was been laying around should basically be cleaned up this year and cleared up to give me a free road ahead, basically, to do other things, mainly, Sky GODZ, which obviously I've been working on for over a year now. Actually, I started initially in August 2006, 2017, getting confused here, 2017, and basically I've been working in pre-production now for just about a year, and it's going ahead slowly, but at least things are getting done. So now it's November, and it's time to give you like an update what's been happening behind the scenes. There's constantly things happening, sometimes little things, sometimes a little bit bigger things. But of course, such a project, it takes a lot of things. It just doesn't take creativity. It doesn't just take actual drawing work. There's also business stuff. There's distribution, blah 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 blah. So let's just quickly go over over all the things that happened. I don't want to make this like a super long video. One of the good things about having some extra time is to think about the story ideas and stuff like that. And I really, quite frankly, I'm actually quite glad because I think the story has been changed for the better. I sort of like, as maybe you have seen on Instagram, I sort of like created a new log line. I'm actually going to show this to you right now here. The log line is a little more general. I just kind of want to get away a little bit from the Anunnaki thing as the sole center of the story, and just go towards more like a general alien type of subject, which was originally the plan, but then it's sort of like it got too Anunnaki heavy, and I don't really want this show to be basically about that, because it's just too narrow. And yeah, there is a lot of material. You could make a show about it basically, but I really like the idea of like aliens having been on Earth and having sort of like their feuds underground, and we humans basically are sort of like just like kind of like toys, like the Fantastic Planet, the movie I also posted on Instagram, the French science fiction movie, where sort of like the humans are like the pets basically of the aliens. And I sort of really like the idea, because sometimes really it seems kind of like we're just like pawns in a big game of theaters. Of course, David Icke and a lot of people, conspiracy guys, have been writing about the bat reptilians, the shape-shifting Queen of England and all that kind of nonsense. That's not really what this is about. This is also like in a much larger time frame. So I sort of like put in a little more hints towards like a galactic war. I put more hints towards like the races that really have been here for a long time, like like the Dracos, almost like a couple billion years, and the Lyrans and a few other ones. So really trying to shift this a little more, bring a little more other aliens in from the beginning, and also like give a little more weight to the Galactic Federation, the Ashtar Command. Very popular. I've actually designed, I don't know how many, got to be about 30-40 commanders at this point. So we really have like a lot of characters, and I'm gonna have to flesh those out a little more. So that's basically been done. There's a third reworking of the mini Bible going on right now that actually has to be finished by the end of the weekend, because the big news is there are some important people that want to look at it, especially because those people have access to my how should I say favorite? It's not really my favorite, but it's sort of like my preferred streaming service that I would like Sky GODZ to be on. You obviously all know what that is. I don't really have to name it, but it starts with an N and ends with an X. And Of course, that's the 900-pound gorilla, However, this is obviously heavily curated. So without any leverage, and I've talked about that last time, and I've talked about in the distribution video about that, without any leverage, it is very, very difficult to get in. Like somebody like Ryan Murphy, yeah, he gets a $200 million contract thrown at him, basically. But Ryan Murphy had several hit shows. I have no hit show. So, Ryan Murphy, David Bowler, Ryan Murphy, David Bowler. You get the point, So Netflix does not just look at the quality or what is on offer. Basically, they also look, hey, how many social media followers are there? Basically, what's the producer showrunner done before? What's the writer done before? Is there a built-in audience, and so on and so on. So very difficult to get in, but hey, you gotta try. And then of course, let me just check my notes. I really don't want to forget anything. Yeah, the big problem was in September. I mean, big problem. It wasn't a big problem, but I've gotten several DMs, basically complaining or respectively asking, "Where's the comic you've been announcing?" And yeah, of course there was no comic. Otherwise, you probably would have known. And yeah, due to my backlog and other things, I've done 3 books basically since July. And it's just a little too what do you call it? I was just a little too fast announcing stuff, because I thought, well, I'm going to work on it little by little, and then all the stuff happened, and it got so demanding, and people got so difficult, which actually made me more of a psychiatrist than an actual artist, that it just wasn't in the cards. However, I've been writing on a thing too. I will be drawing it, and I hope I want to premiere the first volume graphic novel at the Fantasy Basel next year. That will be in I think it was going to be in May sometime. So I was just talking to them, and they want to do some special edition stuff, and maybe we'll do that as a special edition for the fair. But it's definitely going to happen too. I mean, just goes everything very slowly. Then what else do we have? Yeah, that's in general story updates. Like I said, the details I will announce at some point, basically once the thing is really locked. I right now don't really have a Bible that's completely locked, but I suppose it will be locked very, very soon. And once it's locked, we can really talk more about the story and more about the storyboards. Next thing, of course, will be the trailer. I mean, that definitely has to happen relatively quickly. I need to have a usable, workable, fantastic trailer that's going to be like, convincing people that this is a good show, because quite frankly, one of the problems with this show is that it does not look and does not feel like anything else that's out there. Everybody's like, yeah, well, it should be like Star Wars, should be Star Trek. Yeah, but let's be honest, Star Wars is right now suffering, not through its own fault, made into the fault of Disney and the incapable hands that the property is in. And Star Trek is the same thing. I mean, Star Trek Discovery, I knew after 15 minutes this was going to be a complete bomb. I turned the damn thing off, and I was glad I did, because pretty much everybody else hated it too, and there was nothing good coming of it. And I think after season 2 it will be cancelled. So you have like these established legacy brands that are sort of really become extremely stale, and you have like newer things that bring ideas in that may be a little bit unconventional, like Sky GODZ, and that then a lot of people saying, yeah, but what is this? I mean, this has never really been done. Where were the spaceships? Where were the laser, what do you call it, the laser pistols and all that kind of stuff? And I think that's just laughable. I mean, quite frankly, to be honest, when you really think about it from a rational point of view, if there were aliens that were coming here through portals, do you really believe they would use laser pistols? Hello? Or they use traditional spaceships? Probably not. That would be so far advanced. They didn't need that kind of nonsense, because at the end of the day, this is sort of like a Western holdover, I mean, Star Trek, it's like basically Western, and the spaceship is the wagons of the pioneers, and the laser pistols are the guns that they used to have to shoot the Native Americans. So it's sort of like, it's a holdover of that whole, genre type of thing, But I think this completely needs to be reworked, and we need to look at it from a complete different angle, and that's what I'm trying to do. Let me look at my notes here. Distribution, yes, obviously this is like my big thing, and has always been my big thing. Why am I going to put any effort into something if nobody's going to see it? So distribution is the number one problem that has to be solved. And like I've talked many times before, with distribution always comes the problem of getting shady distributors losing your rights, all those things that you always hear about. Oh, I, made my movie and I found a distributor, but I never got paid a dime. Very, very common, and these days we do have some possibilities of self-distribution, but self-distribution has another problem, that is that you have to do excessive marketing yourself. I mean, you can't just put a thing on Amazon Prime or on iTunes without any kind of marketing behind it and hope that people are going to watch it. I mean, some people will find it, no doubt about it. Just like the same way that a lot of people did find the social media things. I mean, we're pushing 1,000 on Instagram, we're pushing 1,000 on Tumblr, and so on. And so these people found this. These are not friends of mine from like Facebook or other social media I have built up. Most of those are people who found the project and thought it was interesting, and that's why they follow it. So some people will find it, but is it going to be a critical mass, So the number one goal still has to be to try to get into the N with ending X, Netflix. That has to be the number one goal. I mean, if for some reason they don't want it, they don't want it. It happens to a lot of people, happens to 99% of people. So I don't feel bad about that. It is what it is, But the problem is that if let's say I make an episode and I put it on Amazon Prime, the Netflix is going to look at this, and then I miss my chance, because they don't want, the longer I think they're going to be in business, the more they want curated original project stuff that they had a hand in, stuff, of course, that they have some kind of rights situation on. They're not really interested in picking up the scraps, because quite frankly they don't need to. So so that has to be basically the number one goal. For whatever reason Netflix within the next few months completely passes on it, or I can't get anything off the ground, then the alternative is self-distribution, respectively going potentially with a smaller distributor. There's a few really honest ones that I mean, one way or another it will get out. I mean, I'm not so worried about that, but of course, I have to pay my bills, so it has to be a situation of like that I retain the majority of the rights, if I put the majority of the time, money and effort into it. So you see that kind of dilemma. It's just sort of like a give and take type of situation, and you're trying to avoid like the big evil, and you're trying to avoid being hoodwinked. But what matters is really that you just steadfast, and you're just moving forward, like a battleship Potemkin, and just really basically just do your stuff. Just don't wait for like approval by anybody. Let's just get things going, But unfortunately, that may take a little time, but at the end it will be for the better. The third thing that I want to talk about quickly is that I've mentioned that before. I have an Etsy store for the concept art sketches. In between time, I've sold quite a few actually. I deleted last week when I came back from the Frankfurt Book Fair. I deleted about 15 to 20 sketches that were sold. So if you don't see your sketch anymore on Etsy that you had your mind set on, or you really liked, then yeah, well, it's probably been sold. So with 100, I have about 150 sketches, but I only have about 60 or so on Etsy actually. And so please, if you're interested in those original art sketches, they're really inexpensive at this point, and actually look quite nice. I mean, show them in Frankfurt at the book fair to people, and they were like, wow, this looks really just so simple. It's just like pencil and color pencil, but it has such a strong vibe. And people also like the diversity of the different characters. I mean, there's not two characters that look exactly the same, and people reacted very, very, very strongly to that. So if you're interested in that, I'll the URL is in the show notes below. And yeah, what else do we have here? Yes, I'm planning on making a small line of merchandise. I've met some people that have done some stuff like paints and fairly simple stuff basically, and I really like that idea. So I really think it's the stuff that I like myself. I would probably do. I'm working on a mug, on the Ashtar mug, like with the whole commanders and stuff like that, and I really like that idea basically because it's something I would like myself. Really like the idea of pins. Always loved pins, even as a kid, basically. And pins have become fairly inexpensive to produce, so we may just make a small series of pins and T-shirts. I've always had the idea, basically, of making a very curated line of T-shirts. I don't really want to do like a big colored T-shirt type of thing, but if you type, for example, an alien T-shirt, what you're gonna get is just going to be the usual gray thing. thousand variations on it, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it's kind of boring, you know. It's just always the same. We have so many cool aliens basically in Sky Gods that for every collection there will be a series of different races, but they will be stylized like what you see on the internet, just black and white, similar to like the Orion Empire t-shirt thing that I did on Instagram. And I really like the idea of having like really stylized versions. You can see what it is, but it looks more like a little bit maybe like a tribal tattoo. It's not like completely figurative, but you can really see basically what it is. It's like a mantis, it's a Pleiadian. So the people that associate with particular races, that really like particular races, they could just pick up that t-shirt, and quite frankly, there's nothing out there. So I really may make that. So just like a few simple things, you know, mugs, pins, and t-shirts. And just basically once the website go live and the graphic novels on there for sale, that, you know, somebody who really likes the stuff, basically, it's just you know, buy that. And I'm probably going to get a fulfillment center in the US. So, you know, obviously it's not worth it for me to ship this from Central Europe to South America or the US, you know, which, by the way, South America is turning out to be my biggest fan base for Sky Gods at this point. I mean, there's a lot of people interested in that kind of material. They love anime in South America. They really love UFOs. They got a lot of sightings down there themselves. I mean, come on. I mean, some of the most impressive UFO sightings of all time essentially come from South America. So, you know, it would be easier to have a fulfillment center than in the US, basically. But so that's basically on the map for, like, you know, for early next year, you know. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for now. I will make more regular updates from now on. Like I said, the worst job type of things are over, and I will have a little more time, and I want to make more YouTube videos, because quite frankly, I've gotten quite a bit of followers over the time where I did nothing. Got more followers when I did nothing than when I actually did something. So let's hope that actually doing a little something will, you know, get me more followers. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. Instagram is definitely the best way to get the latest updates. Also pretty much get daily updates. I mean, we have a lot of times actually 3 updates a day, also with fan art and all kinds of other stuff. So, you know, please follow on Instagram. Facebook, I'm doing once a day. Tumblr also doing about twice a day. And Twitter also. With Twitter, it's just that the discovery rate is really low, basically, because there's just so much crap on there. You know, so but Twitter, there's some interesting comments I'm getting from actually quite famous people, like, you know, Joseph P. Farrell, Rita Louise, and so on. That's kind of interesting. These people kind of starting to notice the Sky Gods thing. So yeah, you know, I wish you all a good weekend, and check out the UFO talk video coming very soon, and then I think I'm going to see you again next month for the December pre-Christmas update. Okay, have a good time. Bye.